Okay, everybody. I just want to welcome you to the webinar this morning. My name is Nathan Fulham. I'm the content manager here at Codec. We won't keep you too long. This should only take about 30 minutes. And I'd just like to let you know that if you have any questions during the course of the webinar, you can just type in your queries or questions into the chat box and we'll get back to you on those questions. Now, I'm going to introduce you to our speaker, who is Richard Nolan. He is the Director of Cloud Transformation here at Codec, and he's been here since the beginning. So he's seen a lot of shifts take place in the workplace, and none bigger than digital transformation itself. And he has a lot of interesting insights for you on that. So he's going to be talking you through the 5 steps to a successful digital transformation. There's Richard in his lucky red tie there. And as I said, he's been here since the beginning. And why should you listen to us here at Codec? Well, we've worked with an awful lot of companies across various sectors for a long time. We have ongoing relationships with these companies based on the fact that I think that they like what we do. Okay? So without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to our Director of Cloud Transformation, Richard Nolan.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Nathan. And I'm just going to kick off now. So this morning, I would like to cover. Sorry, guys, just 1 second. Sorry, getting a lot of. So this morning, I would like to cover a number of things to help straighten out the pathway to future goals for a digital transformation journey. They'll be along the lines of what is a digital transformation journey and why do it? From there, let's take a look at my 5 steps to a successful digital transformation. Then we can talk about a company that has already embarked on the journey. Finally, I would like to make a suggestion on next steps and how you might get started, take stock, or recalibrate what's been going on. So I like to break out 2 basic elements of the DTJ. The first is a business transformation side, which is where everybody is really focused on, because we are coming from a very different place, and a lot of what we are doing today, we've been doing for many years. Sometimes when people move things to the cloud, all they are doing is moving from an on-prem solution to the cloud. And I don't really class that as digital transformation. Companies that are digital first businesses are threatening the incumbents. Many of these types of companies are new entrants to the market and are quicker to deploy product and are more agile in offering value to their customers. The most commonly cited obstacles to achieving this digital transformation goals are time constraints, business IT misalignment, and legacy infrastructure, systems and applications. You're going to be familiar with all of these. The second and most important for those here today is personal development, leading to career development. Now, this requires a different mindset, a different culture, a different behavior. And remember, we would all like to change someone else's behavior, but we rarely start with our own. The will to drive change and the discipline to maintain the drive. A lot of people might have started off as the IT guy and then the IT manager, but then there is the transition to CTO and CIO roles, which now transition to high value CIO roles. And who knows, possibly a CEO in the future. For example, security is now a CEO and board level issue. Audit and risk compliance are close behind. Reducing and mitigating business risk is at the core of these functions, as is having a common standard. So the CIOs should drive higher performance by planning out these three areas within the business, as well as looking for opportunities to embed these requirements into the broader IT organizational structure. So just moving on to the first step that I have here is around deciding on a digital strategy, which will differ from one industry to another. However, what has emerged as the front runner is selecting a single stack provider, which is a set of subsystems or components needed to create a complete platform such that no additional software is needed to support applications. Applications then run on top of the resulting platform. And there are plenty of stacks out there to choose from at varying stages of maturity. So you have stack providers such as Oracle, IBM, Microsoft, new guys like Google and Amazon. So these guys have different types of offerings. Some are obviously more complete than others. So it's important to understand what suits you the best. So at the end of the day, you need to pick a stack and then stick to that. The idea is that all applications should ideally be run on the platform and only look elsewhere if there is not a good fit for your application. That's when you can fall back on a best of breed strategy for selecting an application. However, a prerequisite for this is that it should be a partner of your stack. In other words, it integrates seamlessly with the platform out of the box with plenty of available middleware to ensure one version of the data. And that is all important. There will be times when you'll need to step outside the strategy, for example, in specialized industries where plant and factory production equipment requires proprietary software designed for these specialized processes. But even in these cases, you'll want to bring the data back into the fold. It's important to outline the broad steps and goals that will be achieved by taking these actions so the business can relate to them. So craft and communicate your digital strategy clearly and company-wide. So get the buy-in. This could not be overemphasized. Foster a culture that encourages innovative approaches. So as new product ideas and new business models emerge, technology executives can enable a high-value discussion about enabling these ideas with technologies, people, and processes. The need for CIOs to drive business management accountability has never been more important. For example, 35% of IT projects fail not because of IT, but because of the business. Business executives either change priorities or become disinterested in their participation in IT's projects. CIOs have made the push to understand business requirements. However, many business executives have not reciprocated. What's in it for me? So business value, better work practices and processes, better equipped employees, automation, compliant governance, GDPR practices, all should go to improving company performance and results. That's what's in it for everyone. And that's what makes people feel accountable. Finally, a stat from the Boston Consulting Group. Companies that invest in digital transformation initiatives increase annual revenues 15% faster and create jobs twice as fast as their competitors. Now, that's competitive advantage. You're not talking about 15% higher revenues, but the growth rate is really key to this. There's a lot more stats I can give you to confirm this trend is happening out there. So find the right partner that will align with your digital strategy. So the process for picking a full stack solution provider should be understood as is looking at the partner food chain. Now, unlike the choices for a platform vendor of less than 10 companies, as we mentioned previously, you now are looking at literally hundreds of providers in this area, but this list can be whittled down rapidly using some basic criteria like, are they a full stack provider or a point solution provider or best of breed? If they are full stack, look at their range of practices across the competencies. Are they an applications platform provider or a traditional IT reseller? If they're an APP, what do their ERP, CRM, BI, and platform practices look like? Quality and control, have they implemented systems and achieved certifications across things like ISO 9000, 20000, and so on? But most important, do you believe you can work with them? And will they help you proactively drive your DTJ successfully? So again, with your partner, you're looking at co-creating and tapping into these external experts, as well as working with your internal experts. So step 4 is around basically making a list, making lists, and you can make a number of lists. For a start, look at what you've got. These items here are just a sample and are by no means exhaustive. So you should asset inventory your software across these areas based on whether you have on-prem or in cloud solutions in place. Besides the categories here, like ERP and CRM and so on, and the line of businesses, there will be field service, service desk, customer support, HR, time and attendance, and so on. For example, what are you doing for DevOps, mobility, analytics? Loads of things to understand in this area. You could be doing a lot of them already, and have a lot of legacy systems out there and what you need to do. Then have a look at productivity apps around collaboration, email, spreadsheets, and so on. That's probably going to be kind of an easier area to deal with. Around the infrastructure, actually, you may already be using workloads in Azure for infrastructure or applications. So in this area, you may be hitting problems with runaway costs or design challenges. And that tends to be the case when people go in there for the start, because they don't realize how important it is to get these design correct. But get the inventory of client servers, comms, network, broadband, MPLS, any topology diagrams and documentation you have around, really good thing to do. Another area is the list around vendors and partners and the associated contracts. Probably an area that needs to be tidied up, especially if you're working off expired contracts or in some cases no contracts due to legacy arrangements or whatever. Then you need to list your people resources, IT staff, skills, matrix, and so on. And of course, money. How's your budget allocated and spent? So just to kind of take a step out of the steps for a minute and look at some tools that you could use here. So what I advise is don't reinvent the wheel. There are a lot of tools out there that you can access. When you've completed this exercise, it would be a major benefit to use a capability framework to help you understand where you are and identify the key areas where you need to improve. So as members of the Innovation Value Institute, which has a research centre in Maynooth University here in Dublin, which is actually headed by Martin Curley, and he's the global CTO of Intel. We use their IT capability maturity framework, and this provides a framework to link business strategy to IT strategy, and it's a very comprehensive suite of proven management practices with assessment approaches and improvement strategies that cover 35 critical capabilities. So, and these are very well documented and very easy to look at, to understand, and to use as a tool. So for each capability, there is a suite of maturity profiles, assessment methods, and improvement roadmaps. These are in plain business language and can be used to getting involved ourselves with webinars in this space with the IVI too, and I believe there is one coming up next week, so it will be good to see you there again. The next one here is around the old nugget. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So this is around, measuring the impact against your goals. CIOs are required to understand business process knowledge and have access to skills that combine technology, business, marketing, and financial acumen. They need the ability to automate process and assure CEOs that the technology investments drive direct business value through measured outcomes. They must have the ability to redefine how the business achieves value from IT. Through the correct measurement of key capabilities, you're going to have a better chance of success and higher performance as measured against the business goals. So that about the 5 steps that we feel you should go through. There's a lot of different opinions out there. These kind of are our set. We believe there's a lot of value in them. And one company I'd like to just mention here that is on the journey is a great Irish company called Bimeda. They are a pharmaceutical company for animal health. And just a little bit of background there, they're in 8 countries around the world. And the States, they're also in Brazil, Hong Kong, China, and Kenya. So, tricky enough places to get to. And so when we met the guys, they had infrastructure issues, and as you can imagine, and we looked at the Office 365 platform as a really good solution there. And because of this, they took the project on, and put the standard stuff that we talked about earlier on, kind of moving on-premise things like Exchange and so on into the Office 365 platform, and also putting some of the infrastructure in there that would drive their platform using Azure. Once we had that established there, and they're still doing a lot of rollout across their offices around, but we looked at some of their applications that they were looking at investing in. And one of the big things about a pharmaceutical and not on the cash cows of the products that they have out there. So this is really important to a company like Bimeda as well. They need to have this flow of new ideas coming down the pipeline to improve their valuation and so on. So they had a look at buying an off-the-shelf package from an outside provider. It actually ran on a SharePoint environment. So what we did was we had a look at, since you have the platform already, let's have a look at putting something together, which from our team, our SharePoint team, went in and did some business analysis and came back with a proposal. And it seemed to work pretty well. So we were given the opportunity to implement this, and did it in about 60 days. And it seems to have been a pretty good success. And since then, we are looking at a number of additional applications. It's kind of the go-to now for any of these new business ideas that are coming out. And again, the guys in there on the IT team are very much linked in with the business. And indeed, we tend to deal with the business as much as we do with the IT guys now at the moment. So it's a really good story there. It's great that it's an Irish company. They've gone global already, and now there's a great platform there to help them going forward into the future, especially with some of the acquisitions that they've announced recently. So finally, just a couple of things here. One of the things that we're obviously a Microsoft partner, and Microsoft have introduced the Microsoft 365 package, which is it's from the Office 365 range, but incorporates a number of things in here. And just have a look at these. It's got the Office 365, which is around the desktop apps and online services and so on and so forth. You get a lot of stuff in there. You get your SharePoint. There's so many apps. I mean, it's really with some very good security, encryption, and so on. And then you also get the best of the mobility and security products that are pretty cool things to have as well. And that's all managed by one console as well. So an offering like this is something that's well worth having a look at. It's probably a little bit misunderstood at the moment, and people don't realize all the things you can get with it. It's well worth having a look at that. And finally, from my side, and it's coming to the end of the presentation now, we are looking at giving away a free digital transformation workshop for one webinar viewer. This is a really cool thing to do. You get to meet a lot of the experts across our practices. We'll design the day for you, and we'll come back with documented information about what was achieved during the day and a draft design plan for how you might take things forward. So as we mentioned there previously, I mean, planning is really key. It's one of our strong points as well. People need to look at 3 and 5 year programs out there, but what this will do is, we'll touch on those longer term programs, but the 12-month one is all important, especially if you've just begun the DT journey. So we feel this is really, really good. They tend to be, we can get some of these for certain qualifying companies funding from Microsoft to do these, but we're going to give this one here away today. But if you are interested in talking to us about it, please fill in the form there anyway. So to register your interest for this, if you email 5 p.m. today, the winner will be announced tomorrow by email, and we can take it from there. So that's it from myself. And just Nathan, do we have any questions there?
No, Richard, we've actually dealt with the questions privately during the course of that conversation, but if anyone has any last minute questions, you can type them into the chat box now, and we'll also follow up with an email with all details of matters that were discussed in this presentation. You'll all get that email within the next day. So if we don't get any immediate queries from you, we'll wish you well. Thanks for attending this morning, and we wish you all the best. Thanks a lot. Any last words, Richard?
No, that's great. And thanks everybody for attending. It's great to see so many people here in the webinar. I wasn't expecting so many. It's one of my first ones, so I hope I did all right. And I'd love to talk to you again in the future. All the best.